Hey guys, Freddy with CJ Off Road. Wrong video. Hey guys, Freddy with Poor Man Mods. Today we're going to be doing a leveling kit on my friend's 2020 F150. We're going to be doing the Rugged leveling kit. This is a 2.5 inch, right? 2.5 inch leveling kit. If you measure it, it's not 2.5 inches, but it claims to level the front 2.5 inches. Now, if you think you have seen my face before in F150 videos, you're not wrong. I have been in many F150 videos with CJ Off Road. I no longer do videos for that company. I'll have a link right here that'll get you caught up to that. But I have my own facility here on my own channel, and this will be my first F150 video on my channel. So we're gonna be doing a leveling kit. We already did the other side. So on this side, I'm gonna show you exactly how to do it, and hopefully we can do more mods to this F150 on this channel, and let's get started. All right, first thing we're gonna do is disconnect the ABS wire, vacuum hose, and all this stuff over here. 8mm bolt here, 10 here, 10 back here, and undo all these clips with a trim panel removal tool. You will need as much slack as you can get with all these wires.
Hey Freddy, they're good, aren't they?
All right, get everything as loosey-goosey as you can. Next thing, you want to break loose the upper ball joint. Don't remove the nut just yet, just break it loose. Then take a 21mm socket and remove the nut securing the tie rod. Sometimes it'll pop right out for you, sometimes it won't. So if this continues to spin on you, you might need a wrench, or I like these go-through sockets. This is a go-through or pass-through 19mm. Then you can put an 8mm on here. You're gonna want to tighten with the 8, loosen with the 19. Or you can do this with wrenches. It really doesn't matter as long as you can get it done. And this is about to pop off. We don't need to take it off just yet. Take an 18mm socket and remove both nuts on the bottom of the strut. I would recommend, if this is an older truck, definitely spray everything with a lubricant, PB Blaster, Deep Creep, whatever. Very difficult to see, but there are 3 18mm nuts on top of the strut. Go ahead and remove them. This will blow your mind, and this will blow your mind and your mind. Check this out. You got to take off so you can get more articulation out. You want to remove the nut holding the CV axle in. So get some vice grips, and you're gonna pull off the dust cap. Now, when you think of like a CV axle nut, you probably think of something pretty beefy, right?
I mean, even small cars, they're like 36 to 38mm.
Oh yeah, wait till you see this one. That is the axle nut. A little tiny 13mm.
That center stud, though, is not the size of the axle, I hope.
It gets bigger, but still, it's only held on with a 13. Where's my socket? Take a 13 and remove the CV axle nut. That thing is pathetic. I mean, I guess it works, but we're used to, like, you know, something like that. Whatever. Next thing we gotta do is disconnect the sway bar end link here. Ideally, when you do this, you wanna do both sides just to make your life easier. So if you're gonna do, say, the driver's side, get the driver's side apart, and before you try to remove this or put it back in, it'll just make your life a little bit easier if you take the wheel off the other side and undo that one as well. Ooh, that one came off beautifully. Sometimes you do need to hold it with an 8mm on this stud to take it off, but that came off perfect. And so now I have the other side disconnected. This sway bar can easily go up and get out of the way for it. This light makes me look like a freaking ghost. But next thing you gotta do, take a 27mm nut and loosen the nuts that hold the lower control arm on. You don't need to remove the lower control arm. It may make it easier, However, we did the other side with a lot of cussing and 3 dudes without removing the lower control arm. We just loosened the nuts. Oh, yeah. And the very last step of this whole install will be tightening these nuts with the truck on the ground with the wheels installed. We're gonna fully remove this nut. For the hammer trick, if this does not pop up, don't take the nut off all the way. Leave it on a couple threads, hit right here with the hammer, it'll pop up, and then remove the nut. You don't want this thing to just fall quickly and abruptly and damage any of your lines or anything like that. You can let this down. Be careful not to put too much tension on these. Since the CV axle nut is out, you can pull the axle out of the spindle, which will give you more articulation. All right, and now we're gonna take that over to the workbench and mess with it. What you wanna do now is put this back up and put a nut on here so you don't have these just being stretched and broken. I didn't say this was gonna be fun or easy. I'm just gonna show you how to do it. Alrighty, so here is the spacer itself. It is not 2.5 inches if you measure it, so geometry happens and it lifts the truck 2 inches. This is gonna go right on top of the strut. I don't know why anyone would put the spacer under the top hat. That is just so much more work. This kind of spacer is so much easier. So it will only go on one way. So line up the studs until all 3 studs slide on, just like that. And it does come with new hardware. I wish these studs were the same thread pitch as the OEM nuts. I don't know why they wouldn't do that, but you have to use different nuts, which are smaller than the OEM nuts. Not a super huge deal, but I like the OEM nuts better, and I wish they would have retained them. And you're gonna tighten it with a 15 millimeter. Now, if you notice, this little nipple extrusion piece right here, this has to face towards the tire. And so if we were to put this back in the truck, if you notice, see the angle of these studs? They're facing the opposite direction now. So the bolts are gonna come up out of the lower control arm and the strut is gonna angle towards the truck. Well, right now this is backwards because of the spacer we put on. So now for this to properly install in the direction that it's supposed to, it's angled the wrong way. So we're gonna take this to the workbench and fix this angle, and then we'll put it back on the truck.
I got carbon fiber covers.
Okay, so what we're gonna do now, you can see the angle of the bolt is going this way. We need to get it going that way. So we're gonna put some crescent wrenches on here and try to rotate this piece that way, and that's why I sprayed some lubricant on it. The other side cooperated pretty well with just 2 wrenches. What we're gonna try to do this time, my buddy Nick is gonna try to put a wrench on here, and I'm gonna put 2 pipes on the bolts, and we're gonna see if we can get it to turn. Yeah, that's working. Hell yeah, that's about perfect. So we adjusted the studs on the strut. That's probably the second most difficult part of this install. The next is going to be the most difficult part. We did not remove the lower control arm. Removing the control arm may help you, but getting this strut installed now is going to be a bit of a pain. It's a 2 or 3 person job. So Nick is gonna get the strut in there, and then we have to push down on this brake rotor to get the studs in the lower control arm. It's gonna be a lot of fighting and cussing, but it is possible. We did it on the other side. Just be careful you don't break any of these hoses or wires over here. I'm not worried about that. So when you lower the spindle, I know you're not gonna be able to see any of this, but you do want to take the axle out of the spindle again, if it will come out. All right, so couldn't see it, but we did get the strut in. We have one nut securing it. The bottom is not in yet. The next part is gonna be pretty difficult. We're gonna lower the jack that we have supporting this lower control arm. Try to slide the studs in. They're definitely going to scrape their way across the control arm into the hole. But yeah, we'll see if we can get it done. Okay, so we were blocking the view of it, but we did get the studs into the lower control arm. Now Nick is gonna jack up the lower control arm to get the studs the rest of the way in. And there she goes. We did not have to remove the lower control arm to do this. And so now it's just reassembling everything. Get all your hardware back together and get the wheels on. The last thing you're gonna do is tighten the lower control arm bolts. So at this point, it's simply just reassembling everything that you took off. Get that there axle in. Keep going. Keep going. All right, hold it right there. Alrighty. Tie rod in. Get the axle through. Get that nut started. Get the two nuts started on the bottom of the strut. And get the top strut nut started. We're gonna get everything started before we tighten anything down. Getting this stud through the knuckle and the nut on. What we did on the other side that worked was prying down on it with a pry bar and jacking up the lower control arm as much as you can before it starts to lift the truck. So I'm gonna have Nick jack it up a little bit more as far as he can. The spring really doesn't compress that much, but we're gonna move it as much as we can before the truck starts to move. And that's pretty much it. Yep. Now the truck's moving. So, okay, there we go. Boom. We're gonna put the nut on the sway bar end link and then just tighten everything down. But it's just a little too big, but I've got a 1 1/8 inch socket that I'm gonna use to put around the cap for the axle nut and hammer it on. Didn't work that good, but it did get it on. See if I can just tap it in the rest of the way with my hammer. Oh yeah. You don't want to smash it, just need to get it seated, and it's looking pretty good. All right, got everything tightened up on the strut and spindle, got the wheel on. Now we'll put the truck on the ground and tighten up both lower control arms. All right, got the truck on the ground, tightened up the lower control arm nuts. I want to say the torque spec for those is like over 200 foot-pounds. Pretty much tighten them as tight as you freaking can. Some torque wrenches don't even go that high, so just get a nice breaker bar on them, tighten them as much as you can. You might make a little squeal or a little whine while doing it. I know I was squealing pretty hard. But anyway, the truck is leveled now. It's looking amazing. I think the front is just a 1/4 inch lower than the rear. So pretty much level, looks really, really good. So what you have to do now, once you have this leveling kit installed, go get it aligned because you do have some crazy positive camber going on. And then probably after the first 50 or 100 miles, you definitely want to recheck all your hardware, make sure nothing is loose, and then you should be good to go. So next step for this truck is nice wheels and tires, and the truck should be looking pretty awesome. He's also getting it aligned tomorrow, so not that bad of an install. way easier than a full lift kit. The hardest part is just getting that strut back in, but if you use the tricks that we showed you in this video and have a friend to help, it should only take you about an afternoon to do it. So if you are interested in this lift kit that we installed, I will have a link to it in the description down below. Hope this video helped you out. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe for more F-150 content in the future, and maybe Ranger stuff, because we do have a new Ranger too. So yeah, see you guys next time. Thanks.